Good evening, everyone. My name is Cynthia Loesch-Johnson. I'm president of the Codman Neighborhood Council. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. We are going to jump right into the agenda. We have a lot to cover this evening, so we want to make sure we start on time so that we can end on time. As you all know, the Codman Square Neighborhood Council meetings are recorded on the first Wednesday of the month, 7 to 8:30 p.m., and then they are posted on YouTube for you to enjoy at a time that's more convenient for you. And you can also share these links with your friends, your family, your neighbors. So make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel so that you can view these meetings and receive all of the important information that we cover every month. This is the agenda for this evening. It's a full agenda. We have a lot to cover. We might jump around a bit depending on who's on and the timing of things, but this is what we'll be covering. Is Keshler Sanon from the Bold Teens. He'll be sharing a little bit about the Codman Square Farmers Market.
So hi, my name is Keshler Sanon. I am a Bold Teens coordinator, and here I have two of our Bold Teens with us. Would you guys like to introduce yourselves?
Hey, right now, yeah, so the city's coupon program has allowed a lot of our vendors to sell out more and just a lot. And so a lot of families have good access to a lot of healthy and fresh whole foods. And the market is getting busier each week. It's getting more crowded. So we're finding out more ways to keep it controlled and safe so that we can stay healthy and not get COVID. So be sure to stop by every Saturday from 11 to 2. And also, this Saturday, we're going to have a backpack giveaway and a school supply giveaway at Codman Square by Thumbprint Reality during the farmers market.
Great, thanks, Khanh. Anything you wanted to add, Keshler?
Yes, and the week after, we will also have next week's Social Saturday be sponsored by the National Health Center.
By the Codman Square Health Center for National Health Center Week?
Yes, sorry.
That's great.
And yep, and Kristina, would you like to add anything?
Hello, my name is Kristina. A few weeks ago, we as in Bold Teams were given an opportunity to have a meeting with Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley. She unfortunately wasn't available at the time, so we were able to have a meeting with her team. In this meeting, we were discussing about the Quit Because of COVID Act. And a little background about the Quit Because of COVID Act is that this is an act to improve Medicaid coverage for smoking cessation and make it more accessible to a greater number of people, and in a way fights against the tobacco industry. After this meeting, we were informed that Ayanna Pressley became a co-sponsor for this act, as she did last year because of the meeting and our advocacy.
Wow, thanks, Kristina. Let's give the Bold Teens a big round of applause. That's a big deal to have a Congresswoman co-sponsor a bill because of meeting with you all and you sharing the importance of that bill. So let's give them a big round of applause.
Woo, congrats.
That's excellent. It's not often that you hear from young people on community meetings, but the Bold Teens are very active and they run the Codman Square Farmers Market. They meet with our elected officials on issues that are important to us, and they do other things too. So I'll hand it off to Richard to tell us more.
Hello, everyone. How's everyone doing tonight? As Cynthia said, my name is Richard Scott. I'm actually working with the Bold Teens this summer as the park coordinator. So I'm just gonna dive into a little bit of park updates. So we actually started in the month of July our movie night at the parks. So the movie night so far have been a hit. Lots of people have came out and the families love it. So we do it every Friday at 8 p.m. We're actually doing one this Friday and we'll be showing Shrek. So love to see the community come out and enjoy that time. We'll be having popcorn and snacks and as well as drinks for the kids and for families as well. So you know, love to see you guys there. Kristina, would you like to talk about the experience during the movie night?
Sure. Unfortunately, the first week we were supposed to, it was raining. But after that, in the first week, I was extremely surprised to see how much people came, and how the kids enjoyed it. And last week we were able to bring out popcorn, and many people said that they enjoyed the popcorn and enjoyed the snack.
Thank you, Kristina. I'm trying to put in the flyer into the chat, but I'll eventually drop that in there so you guys can see, just the movies coming up for the month of August. But I'm also going to also dive into a little bit of things that we also do at the park. We also have playtime in the park on Tuesdays, and this is a time where we know there's kids that are in the community that are not necessarily into a summer program. So with this program that we put into place, that we want to really be able to have the kids come out and basically have fun in a safe environment, still have that structure. So we put together, sports, learn different types of activities and things like that, just so it's not, boring, or it's not like, oh, you need to have this skill to be able to make it to the NBA or the NFL, just kids being kids. So like I said, we do this every Tuesday. We're just trying to be able to bring more kids into the area during that time. So, I want to be able to spread that word out some more. Like I said, I'll drop those 2 flyers into the chat. But I also would like for you guys to also visit me at the Common Square Farmers Market on Saturdays, and to learn more about the redesign of the Common Square Park. We're looking to really bring that space and to really bring the community into a part of that space. So, we have many different cultures in the Common Square itself, so we want to be able to express that, as well as have more community events out there. So we actually was able to secure $640,000 in capital dollars, $150,000 in CPA dollars, and we are currently waiting to hear about the $150,000 from the Brown Fountain. So, we'll definitely like to hear you guys' opinion as well, just so we can hear more about what would you like to see in your community. So I'll also drop this survey into the chat, just so you guys, to let me know how you feel about it. But like I said, you can visit me on Saturdays, and I'll be able to explain more about the redesign. Thank you for your time.
That was a whole lot of information from the Bold Teens. So let's just recap. We have the farmers market, playtime in the park, movie night, and the meeting with Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley. Does anyone have any questions about any of that? No? Well, great work, Bold Teens. I think Joanna's on. Joanna, did you want to talk a little bit more about the backpack giveaway?
Yes, quickly, thank you so much. Sorry for joining on a little late. I literally came on when I saw the flyer up. I'm like, oh no. No, yes. So Thumbprint Cares is hosting our 5th annual backpack giveaway this Saturday. We're teaming up with Howell Heating and Plumbing, who has matched our efforts. In the past, we've given away about 300 bags per year. And so this year, we're fortunate enough to donate 600 backpacks filled with supplies. We have a few vendors that are going to be coming out and doing giveaways as well. And we'll be donating additional items. So we're talking hygiene products, Sage Dental's donating toothbrush kits. We have Girl Scouts of America that will be providing information. We have Black Nurses Rock that will be providing goodie bags. We have R&B Ice Cream that's going to be donating ice cream this year. So it's going to be probably the biggest one we've had this year, but we're being very mindful of the times that we're living in right now, and trying to do QR codes for registration, just to be mindful of everyone's personal space, but still being able to capture the data of how many people are coming out. So it's going to be a great time. And we're also giving away about 11 bikes as well to some kids. So it's going to be a great event from 11 to 2, and we're just excited to see the community come out and come together and, you know, and really benefit from these backpacks. We put our heart and soul into these bags, and so we're looking forward to just seeing everyone. And please spread the word.
Thank you, Joanna. A big thank you to Thumbprint Cares. It's so phenomenal that you guys are able to give away so many backpacks every year. And we love having this event at the Codman Square Farmers Market for our social Saturdays. If you guys aren't aware, every Saturday we try to feature or partner with a different entity or organization in the community so that we could be bringing different initiatives and efforts together, bringing more bodies into the Codman Square Park, and really just sharing resources. And it's wonderful because it really activates the square. So next Saturday, in addition to everything we just talked about, Second Church will also be having a kids festival in the same space, but on the church parcel. So please come visit us on Saturday. Codman Square will be so live and so much fun. And thank you all for all that you're doing. And for the Codman Square Farmers Market, this is our initiative to bring fresh, local, organic produce to our community. That's my son. We don't have access to enough fresh, local, organic produce in Codman Square. You guys are familiar with the surveying we've done in our neighborhood. We've assessed the businesses that exist in Codman Square. We have a lot of the same, and we don't have a single sit-down restaurant. We don't have a single healthy food establishment where you can enjoy a meal with your family in the venue, and that's really unacceptable. So the farmers market is one of our ways of bringing fresh, local, organic produce to the community, but we need to increase resources like that in our neighborhood. Moving along in the agenda, is B3 or C11 on? I don't think I see Officer Keeney. If not, we'll jump around a bit. We'll now hear from the Codman Square Trauma Outreach Team. I think Tara's on.
I am. Thank you, Cynthia. Good evening, everyone. My name is Tara Register, and I work with Family Nurturing Center. I lead their community coalition called Dorchester Cares, which is actually an initiative with the Department of Children and Families. And we will be leading the trauma work in the Codman Square area with the Boston Public Health Commission. And it's called the Codman Square Neighborhood Trauma Outreach Team. I know that's a lot of words, but the NTOT. And so what we are is the community engagement and outreach piece of the neighborhood trauma team. Many of the trauma teams that are in Boston already are connected to a community health center and a community-based organization. And so our team is a mini version of that, and that's why it's called the outreach trauma team. And so anytime that there is an incident that involves community violence or a traumatic incident that really impacts our community, this is where we would come in and we would do outreach, and we would connect and offer supports or connect families and residents to any type of support in regards to that incident or that traumatic event. One of the things that we are planning to do is collaborate with the local church, Full Life Gospel Center, which is at 183 Norfolk Street. And so we'll use the church as a space for anyone to come and be able to receive any type of trauma support or any kind of family support that the family might need. And so we'll be opening the doors of the church on Thursdays, as Thursday being a space that families or anyone in the community can come to in regards to community trauma. I will I have a flyer that has all our information on it. I'll put that in the chat so that everybody has that. But if you need to reach out to me, my information is also on the flyer. I'll put that in the chat, my information as well. If you have questions, if you have concerns, if you need the trauma hotline number, if you're looking for some kind of supports around trauma, or around family supports, being that I am also connected to Family Nurturing Center. We do a lot of work in the community around families and offering support, resources, and services. So I can also connect you to that. So I just wanted to make sure that the community knew that the Codman Square Neighborhood Trauma Outreach Team, we are there and we are available. And as incidents happen, please reach out to me. If you know of somebody that needs any type of services or support, or even if you might need any type of support. But what what I really want to do is just make sure that, you know, our community knows that there is someone and somewhere that they can go to and that they can call if they need, if they're looking for anything. And that's really it. Thank you so much, Cynthia.
That's great. Any questions for Tara?
Awesome.
Tara, we are so excited to have this new resource in Codman Square. Is this just for the summer or is it more of a long-term?
Oh, it's long-term. It's long-term. I'm here to stay.
Oh, that's so exciting. Very nice. Great. Please put your contact information in the chat. This is going to be really great for us.
I will. Thank you.
Moving along in the agenda, we do have 2 District 4 candidates on our call this evening. We will start with Troy Smith. He is running for Austin City Council, District 4. Troy, are you on?
I am, Cynthia. Good evening, everyone. I bring you greetings. I'm currently in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, attending an international fraternity conference. And I will be home this weekend. But I am Troy Smith, second generation Bostonian, running for District 4 City Council. And I would love to hear the concerns of this community group with respect to community safety, as far as also Cynthia just mentioned that, you know, District 4, especially Codman Square, does not have a viable, healthy choice sit-down restaurant where residents and constituents are able to come in and sit as a family. That's of great concern, because when you look at many of the other neighborhoods immediately connected with us in District 4, such as in Ashmont Station, Lower Mills, you do find those establishments. And so it's incumbent upon us to come together and be solution-based in our approach to how do we obtain and recruit those types of businesses to come within our district. And I would greatly like to sit with you and put a plan together and reach out to viable entities that will come in and set up their shop, and we would be able to benefit not just as a family sitting together, but economically within our district. Also, very concerned, and I do want to say I appreciate each and every one that has signed the petition to get me on the ballot. I truly respect the support that District 4 has given me. I am a lifelong resident and constituent of District 4. And working in District 4, living in District 4, I've seen the many challenges and successes that we have been able to obtain, but there are so many others that we can go after that are very tangible. I've also been informed of endorsements coming from the Carmen's Union, from the MBTA, and I greatly appreciate that. I also have endorsement coming from the Sigma 1914 Political Action Committee, a nationally registered political action committee. So we're looking forward to the primary in September 14th. We're asking everyone that is able and willing, if you have any concerns or questions, you can always go to my website, votetroydistrict4.com, and see some of the things that we have on our agenda. This is one of many Zoom community meetings that I'll be participating with just this week alone. But when I get back home, I am hitting the ground again. We'll be doing a mass mailing. And we will be sponsoring a Zoom call, and I will be inviting my fellow candidates for District 4 around the various issues that we all hold dear to us. And we'll send out the link so that everyone is able to participate. And we'll just have a dialogue, conversation to find out where people really are. So I appreciate this opportunity to come before you. At this time, if there are any questions, I'll gladly entertain them if there's time to do that, Cynthia.
There is. Any questions? It's a great opportunity when you have the candidate that wants to represent us in District 4 on the Zoom meeting. So be thinking of what questions you want to ask. I put in the chat a link to a survey that we're doing in Codman Square with regard to what we have available to us in our Merchants District. When we looked at Washington, Talbot, and Norfolk, what we found was we have 31 beauty salons. We love our beauty salons and we love our small businesses, but it's a lot of the same. We have 19 convenience stores. We have 2 cannabis dispensaries being proposed on Washington Street within feet of each other. We have countless establishments selling alcohol, tobacco, fast food. We have, 3 fast food establishments. The Popeyes is still trying to open in between the McDonald's and the KFC. We continue to fight that Popeyes from opening. And so we're just really struggling with changing what's available to us and allowing for more variety in our Merchants District. And so I encourage you guys to fill out that form, take that survey, and let us know what you want to see. What we're hearing from residents based on the surveying is people want to see a coffee shop. We don't have a single place to get a decent cup of coffee. Flower shop, bookstores, pet shops. We have a lot of commercial space. We just want to see more variety. So I encourage you to fill out that survey so that you can share your thoughts with the community. And that's where we're at. We need help. We need help figuring out this problem.
Right. I'm available at any time. You can gladly put my cell phone number in the chat. If anyone has any questions they want to call me directly, I'm open to it. This is a community effort. No one person and any candidate tells you that they can solve the problems is not telling the truth. It takes a village to address the concerns that we have within our district immediately. And Cynthia is so correct with not even having a coffee shop or a flower shop. How many times are we having to go beyond our immediate neighborhood to pick up flowers for a loved one, or a Mother's Day or Valentine's Day? We're spending money outside of our district that would greatly benefit our district. And we're also paying close attention to the Delta variant with respect to possible shutdowns. Is some discussions that are taking place because numbers are rising, and we're finding it more and more amongst our young people. We had an incident just at the Perkins Community Center where we sent some young people on a field trip, and they were exposed to another young person from a group within the city that was COVID positive. And so we had to have all those young people retested before that they could even come back to the center and resume programming. So it's upon us to really push the issue to wear our masks and push the issue. We can't say that there's not enough vaccine available. It is available. We need now to convince our residents and constituents to go become vaccinated, especially our teens and our young people. So we're moving in that direction to get the word out, trying to encourage our young people who really, in their words, they don't see a benefit of it. But now they're beginning to see how sick this new variant is, and that they need to be vaccinated themselves. So I look forward to each and every one of you come September 14th, casting a vote if you deem me fit and qualified to move forward as your potential city councilor. And I continue to support the community in which I was born, raised, and currently living and working. Thank you.
Thank you, Troy. And I encourage you to stay on the meeting so that you can hear the concerns that are brought up by residents and the issues that we're taking on. Thank you for your time and for being here. Hi, sweetheart. Moving along in the agenda, we're now going to hear from the other District 4 candidate that's on the call. My apologies.
I don't.
We're gonna. Okay.
It's okay. It's okay, Cynthia. Thank you.
Evandro
for the time.
Carvalho is here, and he's running for District 4 Boston City Council.
Thank you. I'm glad it's you. Your son is calling you. I'm sure one of my daughters will probably try to open the door and come in to hi too. But it's a pleasure to be with all of you here today. As Cynthia said, I'm Evandro Carvalho. I am running for District 4, and I'm here to ask for your support as well for September 14th. Pastor Troy, always good to see you, brother. Keep up the good work. But folks, I'm really, I'm running to continue serving the community. I've been doing it for quite some time now. And I believe I'm the best candidate because I'm day one ready to serve you. I'll tell you a little bit about who I am. I know some of you perhaps don't know who I am, so I'll give you a brief history of who I am and why I'm doing this, why I continue to be in the public space in serving the people of the city of Boston. I came to this country, I immigrated to this country, to Dorchester particularly, when I was 15 years old from Cape Verde Islands, knew no English, and our family came with just the clothes in our backs. My mother made a difficult decision to come to the United States like so many families do, which is to provide a better life for our kids. As a single mother, she worked 2-3 jobs just to put food on our table. And I remember my first job as a 16-year-old was to clean offices and clean bathrooms in the back bay with her. But like so many of our youth today, and certainly in the 90s, I struggled to make good choices, and certainly was unfortunately on the path from school to prison, as we call so-called school to prison pipeline. In fact, I was arrested at 17 years old at Madison Park High School. But it was the people of the city of Boston and my mom who never gave up on me that, made me the man I am today. Great hardworking teachers at Madison Park High School, which is where I went and graduated in 1999. They helped me go from Madison to UMass Amherst, and then I end up going to Howard Law in Washington, D.C., which, as you know, is an historically Black university, which is actually where I met my beautiful wife, Ashley, who now the two of us are raising 2 beautiful daughters in District 4. So, really, I feel blessed. I'm a lucky individual. And age you, I see someone there. There you go, Melissa. And today I live my dream because of, to be honest, got lucky. And some folks in the city, as I said, whether it were teachers or folks actually that work at the YMCA or the Boys and Girls Club like Troy does, they kept me online. So today I'm living my dream, and I'm married, as I said, to my best friend, Ashley. But I also realized that, in our communities, too many of us don't get the opportunities that we deserve. We face obstacles that are not due to our own doing. In fact, some of the things that we discussed just now about the makeup of a Common Square, lack of, certainly we've seen too many shootings in our neighborhood, lack of healthy foods, lack of, places to go and just have a sit down with your family and enjoy a quiet evening, whether it's having a drink or having some good food. That's the kind of thing that makes me get up every day to go to work in the spaces that I have done over the past at least 10 years of my life since I became a lawyer. I served the people of the city of Boston as an assistant district attorney. I also was elected state representative on Beacon Hill for approximately 5 years. And currently I am the executive director of the Boston Human Rights Commission, which means that I've been in City Hall, particularly during COVID-19, fighting for resources for our community. I certainly, just to kind of give a quick plug, for instance, when I was a state rep, I was one of the early co-sponsors and led the effort on the funding that we just talked about that's coming through CPA, which essentially is funding that's now available in the city of Boston through a small raise of taxes to go through parks and affordable housing, which is why, as the BOLD team, I think we call it, is able to tap into that resource now in order to make our parks better. Again, another shout out to the youth. Really, I met Richard. I think I met all of them, and I was very impressed with the youth and what you all do in the community. So I'm really just running to continue to serve, to be a partner, and someone who's been As I said, particularly in City Hall, things are not easy to get done there, and I can hit the ground running. Right now, we have, as you know, we got a big mayoral race. We got a new mayor in the city of Boston. We're gonna have 5 or 6 new city councilors. And you know, District 4, just by virtue of what we've been discussing here, and all of you living here know that it's one of the highest needs, if not the highest need space in this district in the city of Boston. You want someone that has the experience to go and get the job done right away. So again, this is why I continue to, I'm asking for your support to be on next District 4 City Council on September 14th, really to be a partner in the fight that you all are fighting every day to make our community better, to make our community safer, and to make our community more inclusive. Obviously, the issues, I need not to say them. You know what they are. We just discussed a few just now in terms of you know, development, in terms of restaurants and access to healthy foods, in terms of, you know, to be honest, just hearing about the things that are going on in your park, this is probably one of the more cared for park, more activities. Certainly, you know, I'm going to bring my kids to watch the movie, but that's not, you know, what's going on throughout District 4. So wealth inequities is critical for us to close them. I know those issues. I've been working in City Hall on them. I'll continue to do that as District 4 City Councilor. Certainly, you know, public safety and community policing and in terms of police reform is another thing that I worked on on Beacon Hill and will continue to do as the next city councilor. And finally, community engagement, civic engagement, which again, Cynthia, you all are doing it amazingly, particularly bringing the youth on board to make decisions, to, you know, to figure out how to get resources to the table. We need to do more of what you're doing, to be honest, throughout District 4. So those are some of the things that I like to highlight, but really the issues, what you are facing will be the issues that I would focus on. And for me, the most important thing, to be honest, as someone who's been elected and know what the job is like, whether it's policy or budgeting, I know what that job is like. But to me, the most important thing is being able to get a call or to come to a community meeting and try to help resolve issues, whether it's personal to you, you know, cleaning a park, getting funding for a park, you know, just as someone just did yesterday, call me to go to court with their juvenile son, who's unfortunately, you know, as you know, too many of this happen in our community. So I just love to be accessible and helping people with resources in our community, which ultimately in government, we call it constituent services, which is, to be honest, what I love most about the jobs I've had over the years. So I've gone a little longer than I wanted, but happy to ask questions, happy to certainly stay here and listen more. And on Saturday, I certainly will be in Codman Square for the major event, and you all are doing amazing work there on every Saturday with the foods. In fact, I think it was Richard who gave me the bread, the brioche bread that we all love, that our family is enjoying right now. But again, please give me a shot. Please consider me perhaps as your next District 4 City Councilor for September 14th, which is you know, less than 6 weeks away. Happy to take any questions, Cynthia.
Are there any questions or comments? I think I see one in the chat, Evandro. What are your plans to reduce the number of people experiencing homelessness in Boston?
Yeah, so I mean, homelessness is to be honest, I think we are, in a sense, have been doing a good job, particularly knowing the circumstances. You know, housing in the city of Boston is an issue in general, but there's a lot of certainly not community, you know, shelters and resources available for people that are experiencing homelessness. But you know, the homelessness as an issue, unfortunately, it's not easy to resolve because often is sort of triaged with also mental health and drug abuse, right? We've seen, for instance, particularly after the bridge closed over in Long Island, we've seen an influx of homelessness in the city of Boston. And so, to be honest, I think one of the key things that we can do right away, which again, I think we're doing a good job at it, but is continue to allocate resources in terms of not only transitioning folks out of homelessness, but also giving them transition, not in just transition as in temporary, like shelter, go in, leave at the end of the day, but more so providing affordable options for folks to live in long term, right? But it is, to be honest, it's a very hard question in the sense that there's so many different things that are happening in our communities right now that's making it that folks are getting homeless for one reason or another. But housing obviously is critical, and so we'll be making sure that we have adequate mental health. Certainly, particularly in our schools, have mental health help for people, and finally making sure that, particularly as we get in the American ton of funding, close to $4 billion coming from the federal government through the American Rescue Plan, to make sure that we continue to fund projects and housing for folks to live in. So, but yeah, it's a tough one in terms of homelessness. But I'm looking forward to continue to push to resolve this issue in the city of Boston.
And there's one other question in the chat. The multiple needs in the district. There's so many. What would be the top of your list to tackle? There are so many issues in our district. What would be at the top of your list to tackle?
I think really, as the question suggests, there's so many to tackle, right? So if we think about really, okay, perhaps short term and long term, right? I think short term, I think obviously, as I said, the close to $1 billion, 500 of it, which will go through City Hall, 400 of which will go through BPS, Boston Public Schools, will be critical for us to, as we hopefully going to come out of COVID soon, right? Obviously, the Delta variant is back, is full force in folks in our community, particularly in District 4, no matter Penn, 02122, 02124, 02125, in some of these areas that we live in, folks unfortunately if I may say, under vaccinated. When you look at what's going on, the average throughout the city. So making sure that we come out of the pandemic as best as we can, and that will be priority number one in the short term, if you will. And looking at how we spend in this again, $500 million that's becoming out in the next several years in the city of Boston. So that's priority number one. Again, it's in the space of COVID-19 vaccination, continue to do education in that space. Continue to, to particularly talking about Black immigrants, whether they're Haitians or Cape Verdeans or Jamaicans. Those are the people that perhaps right now are pushing back and not taking vaccines. So that's one. Number two, wealth inequities. To me, long term, when we go into long term, that will be the critical thing that we have to find a way to resolve. If you think about where we are as a city, one of the best city, one of the wealthiest city in the country, but also have the most disparities in terms of home ownership amongst Black and Brown compared to white people, certainly in terms of wealth, which is, wealth building and so on. So I think looking at where we are in 10 years, those numbers got to change. We know the study that came out not too long ago, several months ago, showing that the city pretty much in the past 5-6 years has not been doing businesses with Black and Brown business. Making sure that those numbers are raising will be critical. And at the same time, Cynthia, as you said, making sure that we get some more variety of businesses in the communities that deserve, to make sure that, I forget the terminology you use in terms of the makeup of the infrastructure of the buildings. I forget exactly how, I'm trying to be like you, but I can't, but
built environment.
Go ahead.
I said our built environment.
Built environment, right? So that would be critical. So essentially, trying to close the wealth gap will be the second, perhaps the really, to me, the number one priority is that. But that's more long term than short term. And finally, I think policing is a space that we need to continue to tackle. Obviously, in these communities, all of you are living here, and you keep hearing the helicopters, right, for various reasons in our community. In fact, not too long ago, perhaps right around where you live, Cynthia, a young lady was shot in the hand, walking by with her friends. And this is someone whose mother I know. I don't know, again, if it's right where you live or not, but Cynthia, this would have been right around Common Square, as she said, right? So figuring out what we can do, and I think youth play a critical role in that space. Again, you're doing it best by including the youth in decision making, making sure that we have more youth jobs, The city hires right now about 10,000 people every summer. We need to do at least 15, perhaps $20,000. Excuse me, 20,000 youth employed every summer. I know we have the youth. Forget the actual line item, which actually I think was created by Andrea Campbell. That's now close to $1 million. We need to double that fund to make sure we hire more youth in our community. And there's also a ton of state fund that comes, which I was happy to help when I was a state rep in that space, that will make sure that District 4 gets adequate, state funding in this space. And finally, again, not only public safety, but community policing is something that we need to sort of figure out as we revamping and reforming the city police. How we police our city? Excuse me, how to police our city now, right? To figure out how to make sure that they're doing the right things, right? We created an office, for instance, of police accountability and transparency, which is a brand new office in the city of Boston. The Civilian Review Board is also supposed to be created, and so is a board that will oversee some of the internal affairs investigation. So making sure that all of these recommendations actually were done by the 2020 Police Reform Task Force that Mayor Walsh created and made some great recommendations. Make sure those are implemented will be critical. But I can go on and on in some of these things. But
Evandro, my name is Vicma Desir. I'm on the board of the Codman Square Council. We're jumping around a little bit on the agenda. Up next, we have City Councilor at Large, Julia Mejia. Take it away.
Yeah, so I don't even know what I'm walking into. Is this a forum? Is this like, I'm here to just tell you who I am, what I'm up to?
Tell us who you are and what you're up to.
While I'm here.
Tell us who you are and what you're up to.
Okay, so I am an at-large city councilor. For those who don't know, we won by 1 vote. And I don't know if that was Russell yelling at me, so put yourself on mute, Russell. But I grew up here in the city of Boston. I actually
That's me yelling at you, yes.
That's right, put him on mute, y'all. So for those who don't know, I grew up here in the city of Boston. I actually went to Dorchester High. So literally I used to walk down Washington Street every single day, back and forth. And my campaign office is right on Talbot, in the corner of Talbot and Norfolk, in the little triangle area. And I have devoted my entire life to community service. I've been fighting. That's why I'm always fighting with everyone since I was 9 years old, because I grew up in a life of poverty. And I became the first person in my family to graduate high school. And that was after dropping out. And I used to sell shoes and clean offices with my mom. And Liz Walker, who was the first African-American anchor, shared her story and interrupted my entire cycle of poverty. And I've dedicated my entire career to youth development and working with young people around issues of violence and sexual health. And I decided to run when Ayana got her big seat in Congress. And I said, well, she could do that, I could too. And I didn't know what in the world I was getting into. All I knew is that I had the fight in me. And I knew that I didn't like the way things were going in the city. And I felt like I needed to look behind that curtain and see who was in the way of progress, and ask them to, nicely and politely to step to the side, so we can handle the people's business. And so I went in there thinking that I was going to be able to change everything, and quickly realized, oh my God, I can't do that. And so we have learned publicly and have been bringing everybody along on our journey, from doing budget pop-ups in the community, asking people at the bodegas and the barbershops and hair salons and everywhere in between, about how they want us to spend their money. The chair of small business and workforce development. So a lot of the work that we've done under COVID has focused specifically on helping to support small businesses. We created a COVID business ready initiative for barbershops and hair salons. We know those are high touch industries, many of which were operating with cash only. You know how our people do. And because of that, they weren't able to take advantage of a lot of the resources that were available to them. So through that, we created this initiative where we train them on best business practices and how to thrive and survive beyond COVID. And so through that work, we also addressed a lot of the issues around food insecurity, working with nonprofit organizations and raising close to over $500,000 to support initiatives around food insecurity, and being creative about how we address this issue. Instead of just giving people a box of food, we actually gave them a gift certificate that they can shop for anything that they wanted at their local bodega. not just food, they can get diapers and, medicine and all those things. Because I know what it's like to have to go to the bodega with your food stamps. And back then it was the paper one. Y'all are probably too young to remember the paper food stamps. Those were, everybody knew you were on welfare. It wasn't just like the little card that you can slide right now. So I think it's my lived experiences that informs the way that we lead on the council. And, I'll just say really quickly, and then I'd like to open up for questions, because I don't think this should just be about my resume here. And I think I'm really curious into what's on your hearts and minds, is that we passed a law called residential kitchens, which allows people to be able to start their businesses right out of their homes. Many who are already operating, and they're doing it illegally. So now we're doing it so in a way that is legal and people can actually build wealth. And we see this as an opportunity to close that wealth gap, as well as I see it as a violence prevention strategy as well, because if you're a mom, you can actually have a side hustle right at home and watch your kids while you're doing it. So really trying to think outside the box. And the last thing I'll say, and then I will open up for questions, is through our advocacy, this year's budget, we were able to secure almost $1 million specifically for a new line item, a budget line item that never existed before, which was close to 100, to create a workforce development initiative targeting 19 to 24-year-olds, because while we also secured a lot of money for youth jobs, because those are important, but there is a catchment area of 19 to 24-year-olds that usually fall through the cracks. And so we want to be super intentional about how we create opportunities to build career explorations for these folks, these young people, to be able to thrive straight out of high school. And so we're looking at Madison Park alternative high schools. For me, as a kid who grew up dealing with systems, we're looking at foster care. We're also looking at DYS, kids who are young people who are aging out of those spaces, so that we can work in collaboration with public safety on really creating meaningful workforce, not just opportunities where young people are getting $15 an hour. When we talk about opportunities, we want young people to be able to stay, to afford to live here in the Boston area. So a livable wage, a salary, and inviting the private sector to match this effort is our next step. So I'll stop there, because I didn't know Evandro was going to be the Evandro show, so he took up all my time. But I do have an 8 o'clock, so I want to be really respectful and mindful of that. While I would appreciate your support, what I mostly care about is being in community with those that I serve. So I'd like to hear what's on your hearts and minds.
Great. Thank you so much for being here this evening. And I also want to give a special thanks to Vicma. Vicma is one of our board members, and she helped coordinate you being on the meeting. So I asked her to introduce you, and I'm just really glad you're here. Does anyone have any questions before I ask mine?
I will say thank you, Vicma, for inviting me. And it's so funny because I met your son, your little one, before I got to meet you. And so I'm so incredibly grateful that our worlds collided so organically. And I look forward to continuing to build alongside you.
Yes, she's wonderful. She's a great neighbor. The question I have here is, can you help us? We need your help. We spend many hours of our lives volunteering, assessing what's best for the neighborhood, especially when it comes to development projects. And once we determine what's best for our community, oftentimes we find that a decision is made at the Zoning Board of Appeal or wherever else that is not necessarily in the best interest of our neighborhood. So we're volunteering our time. We have our families, we have our jobs, we're busy, we're overwhelmed. And it's just extremely disrespectful when we put in all that work and then the community process doesn't always listen to the community voice. So how can you assist us with that?
Oh, well, Evandro's telling me to tell y'all to support him too. He better stop trying to bully. Put him on mute, y'all. Go home already, Evandro. You did your part. Okay.
Don't go home. Stay on the meeting and hear what's important to Codman Square.
That's right. That's right. I'm just kidding. So you guys will. So first, let me just say that one of the reasons when we ran, we heard this in every part of the city, whether it's in Charlestown, Austin and Brighton, Dorchester, Roxbury, is that residents felt like their voices were not being heard, and that oftentimes everything was an afterthought. And so we heard that on the campaign trail, and then we started to see it on the council. We saw it through these opportunities they called impact advisory groups, where they nominate people to sit in these spaces and to chime in on what they think the development should look like. And what we started to notice is that there were a lot of discrepancies as to who was getting nominated. And oftentimes the people who actually lived in the community never made it to the top of the list. And so we decided to, through our office, is to create, right now, we are in the process, Cynthia, and I would be more than happy to invite you all to participate. We're creating a citywide planning and development process that is people-centered and led, and not developer catered to, in all honesty, because that's how development gets done here. It is, developers come around our way, they show us these big, beautiful plans, and then they ask us what we think. I think we should flip that notion in its head and say, no, the community, this is what we envision, this is what we like. Which developer is willing to meet this vision, right? Because it's really about power building. And so this steering committee, what we're doing across the city, and we have representation from all 22 neighborhoods, and it's still growing. We're in the early stages, so this is a great time to come on in. What our hope is to be able to create a housing planning bill of rights. What does it look like when you're going to build here in the city of Boston with the people lens in mind? And so we'd love for you to join us in that effort. We are hosting something that I'm calling right now the Housing Palooza. I don't know, I'm trying to be cute about it because I want people to come up and turn up and have fun. But our goal is to, because we think civic engagement is key to activating residents, right? And so we try to make it as fun as possible. Even our budget tours, we made it interactive. And so with this Housing Palooza, what we're hoping to do is bring to light some of the existing ordinances that exist around zoning laws and all of these things, so that people understand what the process is, and then identifying as a collective, what are the things that need to be changed to meet the needs of what we're experiencing today. Just because a law is in place doesn't necessarily mean that that law is working. And so what our hope is during this process is to identify what these laws are and how we can change them to be more reflective of what these needs require us of. So that's what our hope is in the housing space. And we invite you to participate. I think we have it scheduled for September the 24th. And when I say it's a housing palooza, I mean, there'll probably be a little bit of music. Don't get too crazy. It's not gonna be like, balloons and all that. It's just low key. There's going to be a little bit of education, but really it's an opportunity to build and learn and work collectively across the city on issues of housing.
Excellent. Any other questions or comments for the counselor? Is that you, Rep. Holmes?
I have one. Yes, I have one. I thought that the question you asked Cynthia that came into the box was a good opportunity for the council to talk about all means all. So that's her hashtag. So I think that might be something she might want to elaborate on a little bit more. What does all mean all, and how did you develop that?
Yeah. So thank you, my rep, always repping here. So all means all is, really thinking about the important role that we all play in decision-making processes here in Boston. I don't know if you guys remember, but our office was instrumental in the fireworks when they were popping off a few years ago, and people wanted to lock up our loved ones. And, they were like, oh, what about this? What about that? And I said, you know what we're going to do is we're going to bring together people across their differences, because that's the only way we're going to be able to move this conversation forward. And so we brought over 450 people together across the city with very opposing views. And through that process, we were able to create a model. And then that model became a task force, a citywide task force that the city adopted. And so we've kind of adopted that framework where we recognize that if there's an issue happening, we can't point our fingers at the people who are the ones that are perpetrating the quality of life issue. We need to bring those people into the conversations so that we can collectively find some common ground. And then we recently did that with the dirt bike situation and all the loud parties that be going off at Franklin Park and, American Legion, those big loud parties. And so I think that Russell, to Russell's point, and I think you shared some really powerful reflections about that particular meeting, Russell, and we actually had the folks that, oh, hello, that were, hi, that were the ones causing the music, the problem. And Russell, you want to talk a little bit about what you saw in that space and why this model is working so well in Boston?
No, I was gonna leave it just to you. I'm just here to listen, but I think that you've done such a good job with that, that it's important that when someone asks you that type of question about bringing people into spaces, you, Cherie, and I can tell you, when I endorsed you, that was one of the big conversations Cherie and I were having about how that was a very unique space where you know, we brought in people who would never have normally talked to each other, and that is so important to trying to resolve some of these problems. I'll go back to mute, though. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to expand on that. I mean, I think that when I grew up always fighting the system, and now I'm inside. I'm in a system, and I still sometimes feel like I'm fighting even from the inside, right? And so I know what that feels like, to feel unheard and unseen. And so that's why we focus so much of our energy in making sure that these opposing views, and even one last thing I'll say, oh my God, and I'm doing a live at 8. One last thing that I would say, even when we think about, you know, this whole conversation around our frontline workers, our servicemen, you know, our police officers, our EMTs, our firemen, you know, there's this notion that, you know, I'm going to talk specifically around our police, is that they should be the end all and be all, that they are, when they show up to the scene, they're the case manager, they're the housing specialist, they're, you know, the ones who are supposed to do everything. And when I talk about reallocating resources, it's because they need to be able to just do their job. They should not have to worry about doing their job and then 100 other things. And I think that the city needs to do a better job at really looking at the workforce and how we're applying so much social and emotional and mental drain on those who are showing up in scenes, and we're not really looking at that. And I think that that's going to be the next pandemic after COVID. You know, once we're still dealing with COVID. I just want you to know that trauma is something that I deeply do a lot of work in, and that could be part 2 of my conversation. And I don't see this just me showing up. I am from Codman Square. I expect an invitation all day. I don't want to have to like wait for it. I'm coming. Well, I need to know when y'all have these because I'll show up.
Every first Wednesday of the month.
I'll be here. And thank you so much for the opportunity to be in community with you all. I'll leave my email out here in case you have any constituent issues. That's what I love most.
Great.
We respond with a protocol, a procedure, or a program. Sometimes people say I'm running a nonprofit out of my office because I respond in ways that most people think is not city-like, but I do what I need to do to make sure my people get what they need. Here's my email, okay?
We appreciate you being here, your energy and your passion. We hope to see you next month. And Vicma, thank you again for coordinating this. We're so grateful.
Have a beautiful night, guys. Bye. I'm late for my live. Okay, bye.
Understood. Is Evandro still on? We didn't get to close you out properly. If you are, thank you so much for being on this evening. Hopefully you're still listening to all the issues in Codman Square. Moving along in the agenda, we have a resident sharing a proposal, 79 Kenwood Street. It's a driveway proposal. Karen Davis, are you on?
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you? Welcome.
Thank you for having us. My name is Karen Davis, my husband is Ian Davis. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. Hey Denise. Denise has been very helpful in helping me. We have been trying to get a driveway. We've lived on Kenwood Street for over 20 years now, and we don't have a driveway, so we're in the process of trying to get it, but right now we were denied, and again, share the screen with you to kind of give you an idea really quick. Okay, so the whole thing is we're really coming to you to ask for a letter of support from the community because we have to go in front of the appeals board and we're waiting for that date. So this is 79 Kenwood Street, and we began this project on 2012 without any guidance and overwhelmed with the whole process. We decided to just let it go, and here we are 9 years later, wishing that we did complete the task. The curb cut and the tree was approved in the past, and we do have the permit all set. The denial was based on the maneuvering of the areas for the side, which would serve as a pathway into the driveway to the back. So here's basically the side, the first two pictures to the top. And then the misunderstanding is basically the side of the home where it serves as the 7 feet pathway or access aisle. We're replacing all the broken concrete to make it more eco-friendly and neighborhood friendly. We're trying to do the pathway as a combination of a ribbon driveway theme with river rocks to help with any kind of drainage, because we're having problems with that in Codman Square, especially on Elm Street. And this is basically the back where we're trying to basically put 2 to 3 parking spots. It also will help alleviate taking out 2 to 3 vehicles from the street. So it'll be a off-street parking, and it'll allow street parking, street cleaning, and this is the certified plot plan. So we are here to ask for a letter of support from the community to help us out on this appeal, please. Thank you so much for your time.
3 years ago, we're like one of the only 3 houses on here that don't have driveways.
And there's 4 cars in the house. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for your presentation. Do you have any questions for Karen? How do we get this letter to you? Oh, people already want to support you, it sounds like.
Yay!
So it sounds like you're not looking to park the cars in this driveway. You're looking to use it as a passageway to get to the rear where you would park your cars.
That is correct.
Okay, clarification. And people are excited that you are selecting sustainable materials. They noticed.
Yes, appreciate that.
Great. Any other comments or questions for Karen and her husband?
We really do appreciate you listening to our story, and we appreciate your support. Thank you so much for your time. God bless.
Thank you as well. We will be in touch. The board meets next week and we'll discuss this in more detail. If we have any other questions, we'll follow up, but I'm seeing a lot of support in the chat. So
Thank you. Greatly appreciate it.
Excellent. Okay, moving along in the agenda. I don't think B3 or C11 are on. I know it gets tricky for them in the summer months. That's our busiest time, so we need them here. Is Michael O'Shea on from the Codman Square Neighborhood Development Corporation? No? Okay. So we're going to hear from the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services. Denise?
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me. Always. So just to piggyback off of first things first, off of what our elected officials and everyone's candidates were saying, vaccines. For sure, we're like encouraging everyone to get vaccinated, wear your mask, even if you still are vaccinated, just because we are seeing the numbers going up as well. There's a lot of things happening within our community right now. So we understand that people are still trying to get out and engage and do things. So we're still asking that everyone still social distance, obviously wear the mask at all times when you're outdoors and indoors, just to keep everyone safe. I did want to let the community know that the Parks Summer Fitness Series is still running through October 2nd, which I think is such a great initiative because it's offering free in-person and virtual classes led by a certified fitness instructor. So they have calendars already up and the classes where you can sign up, and I'll drop that in the chat, but it's boston.gov/fitness, and you can find all of that. The Summer Eats program is going to still be running up until August 31st. They are at the Codman Square Library branch on Thursdays. So I will also share that with you guys in the chat so you can just be aware of that. They're offering free summer meals to up until 18 years old, which is such a great initiative too. And that's ran through the Love Your Block and Food Access Initiative through the city. A few other things I wanted to mention. Oh, the mayor's coffee hours. That is, I think, a great opportunity where you guys can just come out and meet the mayor. The first one actually happened at Mother's Rest Park on last Friday. Thank you to all those who did come out. It was a great turnout, but we would love to see more people out. I will share the link to that as well. That's on the website at the City of Boston too, where people can get that information. And as always, please feel free to reach out to me. I am on vacation for those who have been reaching out and will continue to reach out from this Friday up until the 16th of August. I will be back in the office on the 17th. Thank you guys. Thank you, Cynthia.
Great. Any questions for Denise? No. Thank you so much. We appreciate your updates. And thanks for putting your email in the chat. Moving along in the agenda, we will now hear from State Representative Russell Holmes.
Thank you. I wanted to begin with just 2 updates and then see if there's any questions tonight. I apologize if you're hearing background noise. I don't know if Denise says she's on vacation, but I am too, and actually driving in New Mexico. So hopefully it's not too loud and you guys can hear me okay. I want to begin with the first one is around redistricting. I think folks know we did the census last year, and the census was substantially or significantly delayed from my perspective because of our former president intentionally trying to destroy the census. And so we would typically get the census numbers in February, March, or April, certainly at the latest, typically after every 10 years when we do the census. We did it last year, and we still have not gotten the official numbers at all from the census. Why is that important? It is important because for those who don't know, the House and Senate members, we recraft our Senate seats and our House seats every 10 years to align the population shift and the population growth with our representation. It is something that's done all across the entire country, but obviously it's very important to us, 160 House members and there are 40 Senate members, and quite literally every 10 years, each one of us gets a new district in some way or another because of the fact that when you have population shifts, sometimes when you think about some of the largest population shifts here in Boston, they've happened, if you think about it, in the new waterfront, you think about the thousands and thousands of people who have moved there, that then makes it so that we have to, even in the city of Boston, have a significant shift to allocate people to representation. Each one of us represents, we try our best to represent as close to possible to the exact same amount of people in both the House and the Senate. And so not having the numbers is very important when we think about what it is for us to make these decisions, because normally we would take between April and November to really fine tune the district and make them have the type of representation that we think is important. So 10 years ago, we went from 10 seats that were majority of color across the entire Commonwealth, which was a sad thing to think about, but we went from 10 just in the entire state to 10 in Boston alone, and 20 in totality in the House. And we created the seat that you can think of that Representative U.S. Congresswoman Presley represents now. That seat is a seat that was not a majority of color seat. Actually, it was majority of color, but not deeply majority of color, that was recreated. So it's important to note that I would like you guys to join the conversation. So on August 14th, it is a Saturday, Kevin Peterson is hosting an event to hear from you. What are the things that we might want to hear from you? Might be a question around what do you think the new senatorial seats should look like? There's been an enormous amount of conversation about the fact that there's not a Black person representing the Senate. And some of that, many people, including me, believe was because we broke up a Senate seat that had been a seat that Diane Wilkerson had been in before. Before that, we had both Bowling and Owens in that seat. So it had been represented by a Black person for a significant amount of years, but we separated that seat and created 2 seats, which is essentially the seat that Sonia James Diaz sits in now, and Nick Collins. Much of that went to 2 seats because of the fact that we thought it would be important to have 2 majority of color seats. So if you have an opinion around the Senate seat, or if you have an opinion around some of the representation seats for the House or the federal seats, we've been having those discussions at large, but the community one is going to happen on August 14th. And I can send that out to you, Cynthia, but I would love it if folks would join in. And then Kevin is certainly willing to do a primer to kind of just discuss, hey, what is redistricting, answer some of those initial questions if folks want to be stronger in some of the comments that they make, because some of the leaders of the redistricting committee will be in that meeting. Any questions on that? Yes, no?
Representative Holmes, thanks for that information. Where is that meeting on September 14th taking place?
It's going to happen at in Roxbury at the park, at Malcolm X Park, but you can also join via remote as well. And I'll drop, if you don't mind, Cynthia, I'll drop to your phone the little flyer that they created that you can send out. That would be great. If you can send out, but it's at 10 a.m. on the 14th. Is that okay?
Yes.
The second thing, I know I took a long time on that one. The second thing is about, just want to give everyone an update on the budget. So I'll be short on this one and just simply say, we believe last year when COVID happened that we thought we were going to have a deficit hole in our state budget somewhere in the neighborhood of about $8 to $10 billion, which is a substantial hole that we thought we were going to have to do incredible cuts to bring us back to even last year. We delayed closing our budget until October of last year, and that delay gave us enough time for the economy to get better, gave us enough time for the federal government to give us an enormous amount of resources and fill a lot of the gaps. And then over the last 4 or 5 months of the fiscal year of last year, we actually came in, we believe, we have the official number, but somewhere in the neighborhood of $4.2 to $3.9 billion over what we thought we were going to have. So we did not make cuts, and we actually were able to put a significant amount of money in our rainy day fund. At the same time, as you guys know, as you heard Evandro talking about earlier, there's been a significant amount of funds given to the city and then to us as the state for recovery money out of COVID. The city, as Evandro talked about, $500 million went to schools alone, and about $1 billion to the city. And then there's a little piece, I think, even of county money. But the state, we have almost $5 billion still remaining. So there's a conversation still happening at the state level to figure out where should we spend that money. Again, this is a conversation I think you guys should get involved in, because rest assured we're getting requests such as, hey, let some of us retire 3 years early because we were frontline workers. We're getting requests such as, well, this thing simply I just don't agree with. I think we all have been in this fight, and maybe a bonus for frontline workers, but to let people start retiring 3 years earlier does not seem like the right place to put the money. So if you think it's important to put money in our rainy day fund, if you think it's important to put on education, if you think it's important to put on transportation, whatever it may be, I can tell you the members of the Black and Latino caucus, we are pretty solid on what we believe, and that is we believe it should go to those who were hurt most in COVID, and be specific about it. People took the brunt of this hit, and we should make sure that we're doing things such as what they were not discoveries to us, but things we've known all the time. You talk, I heard Evandro again talk about the wealth divide. Like, what do we do about home ownership? What did we do about this? The technology divide with our kids? What we do about education in general? All our kids who basically missed a year. We think we should be narrowly focused on addressing what this money really was for, and that is COVID relief and helping the people who were most impacted by COVID. I think certainly in all the meetings that I've had with my district, that it's in alignment with what people have been saying to me, and it'd be good for you guys to join those conversations. We're going to continue to have them all the way through probably October. And I know Gail from the Common Square CDC joined won. And so obviously they're being known, but they're not being known by community folks showing up. What I mean, not that Gail's not a community person, but not heads of organizations. It just would be good to have a lot more community folks in that conversation, and I can send those out as they come out as well to Cynthia. All you gotta do is just join the call, say you want to speak, and join into the hearing, but give your thoughts as well. That would be important.
That's great. Thank you, Rep. Holmes. Anything
Any
else?
questions for me at all? That's all. I know I'm at 20 after, so I know you want to start your announcements at 10. Give yourself 10 minutes, but I'll take another question if you have another minute for me, if anyone have any questions.
Any questions for Rep. Holmes? I have a comment. Thank you for your leadership in coordinating a meeting for us to sit down with both of the cannabis applicants. Both establishments are on Washington Street within about 400 feet of each other. We're hoping to set something up in September. So we really appreciate your leadership in just helping us navigate this state process, the city process, and figuring out what this might look like for Codman Square. As you know, we don't want 2 cannabis dispensaries in Codman Square, but the train has left the station and we're just trying to figure out, what we can do. So thank you again for your leadership.
You're very welcome. Thank you always for your leadership. I appreciate you.
Okay, if there are no other questions for Rep. Holmes, let me check the chat. I'm going to move on to announcements. Does anyone have any announcements?
I have an announcement.
Great.
Hi, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. How many of us here are familiar with Hidden Heroes? I can't even see anybody, so I guess maybe I shouldn't have been asked that question, but I'm sure that you have been to one of the events or heard about it, and it's coming up again in November. And we are looking for, I'm part of the committee with the Codman Square Neighborhood Council, but also on the committee for the Hidden Heroes and Sheroes. And we're looking for nominations for people who have been doing outstanding, amazing work in our community, civic leaders, community leaders, youth leaders, and a Millennium Award, neighborhood leaders. So there is a link that I will put into the chat, and you can go to the website, you can read all about it, but on top of nominating the nominees for these awards, it's really a good time to connect with people and really to appreciate those who have been in the community doing work and really not wanting to be recognized or expecting to be recognized, but deserve to be because of the outstanding work. Right now, we're in those times where, it's been tough on all of us for the past year or so, but still there are people who are making sacrifices all the time to improve your lives and your family's life. So consider those people and who you might want to recognize for the civic leadership, the neighborhood leadership, the youth leadership, and the millennium. The youth leadership award goes to 2 high school seniors who have also contributed to the community while doing exceptional work in high school and are looking to move on to higher education. So there will be fundraising, and we ask that you participate and contribute to that as well, because that is how we award them with $1,500 each scholarship awards. So love your community, love the people that are in it, appreciate them, and especially our youth. So this is going to happen. The event itself happens in November, and the deadline has been extended for the nominations through August the 14th, I believe. And so please, please, please go to the website and take note of all that you read and make a very informed decision about those folks that we want to recognize. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Marilyn. We're super excited for this event. Our 2020 Hidden Heroes and Sheroes, some of them are on the call. Rep. Holmes received the award. Keshler received the award. It's a wonderful, wonderful event. And we did it virtually last year, and it was still pretty nice. People that were usually not able to tune in were able to tune in. So it was just wonderful.
Yeah, I even got dressed up virtually. I had sneakers on, but nobody knew that.
So yes, go to the link that Marilyn's going to share, support this event, and send in your nominations if you have any. Any other announcements? Just a reminder, Codman Square Farmers Market every Saturday at the Codman Square Park from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. This Saturday is the Back to School event with Thumbprint Cares. More than 600 backpacks will be distributed. We do yoga in the park at Dr. Loesch Family Park on Mondays. Movie nights, Friday nights, the Bold Teens at Dr. Loesch Family Park. And our next meeting, same time, same place, first Wednesday of the month, 7 p.m. virtually. Any other announcements? If not, I'm going to put the email for the Codman Square Neighborhood Council in the chat. If you have any questions about this meeting or any of the information that Rep. Holmes said that he would share and you want to make sure you receive it, make sure you email that email address. And I want to thank you all for your time and attention. Thank your families for sharing you with the community meeting tonight. And I will see you next month, same time, same place. Make sure you share all this information with your family, your neighbors, and your friends. Have a good night.
Have a good night. Thank you. You guys stay blessed.
Thank you.